In a stunning turn of events, Meghan Markle has reportedly penned a letter to King Charles, igniting a firestorm of reactions among royal watchers. The very notion of her reaching out to the king after a series of public criticisms has left many shaking their heads in disbelief. It's hard not to feel a twinge of astonishment at the audacity of someone who has repeatedly aired grievances against the monarchy, now seeking explanations about royal protocols. Imagine this: Meghan, nestled in her lavish California mansion, has spent years throwing the royal family under the bus, yet she now finds it fitting to demand answers from the king himself. What's even wilder is her comparison to Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York. Regardless of personal opinions about Fergie, she has remained steadfastly loyal to the royal family, never resorting to public interviews that tarnish the institution's image. Meghan's complaints about Fergie's media engagements seem hypocritical at best. It's classic narcissism, isn't it? Just picture that relative who stirs up drama at family gatherings, then sulks when they're left out of holiday celebrations. Meghan and Harry made a conscious choice to step away from royal duties. They weren't pushed out. Yet, they seem to want to play by their own rules while criticising those who remain committed to the monarchy. Timing is everything, and the timing of this letter couldn't be more questionable. Remember when they first announced they were stepping back from royal duties? They made it sound like they wanted privacy. Oh, the irony, because what we've seen since then has been anything but private. It's been a constant parade of interviews, deals, and what I like to call royal name-dropping for profit. Because this is absolutely delicious. After all their shenanigans, after all their attempts to monetize their royal connections while simultaneously trashing the institution that gave them those very titles, it seems like the patience of the British people and their representatives has finally run out. What makes this particularly interesting is how they've been playing fast and loose with their titles, even after they were specifically told not to use their HRH styles. They've been doing this little dance where they technically don't use them, but make sure everyone knows they have them. It's like watching a teenager who's been grounded, but keeps finding loopholes in the rules. And let's talk about how they've been using these titles, shall we? Every business deal, every Netflix production, every speaking engagement, it's always the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They're like those people who peaked in high school and can't stop talking about it, except in this case, it's royal titles they're clinging to while simultaneously claiming they want independence from the institution those titles represented. The absolute audacity, my friends. They wanted to have their cake and eat it too, didn't they? They wanted to trash the royal family while profiting from their connection to it. They wanted privacy while seeking the spotlight at every opportunity. They wanted independence while trading on their royal status. Well, guess what? It looks like that game might finally be coming to an end. You know what really gets me? The sheer hypocrisy of it all. They claimed they wanted financial independence, but have you noticed how every single one of their ventures relies heavily on their royal connections? They're like those people who say they're self-made but actually got everything handed to them on a silver platter. And let's talk about King Charles for a moment. Bless his heart, he's been trying to handle this situation with such grace and dignity. Inside sources were saying he didn't want to humiliate them by stripping their titles. But you know what? Sometimes tough love is necessary. Sometimes you have to say, enough is enough. Remember when we heard that the palace was considering all options on the table, but that downgrading them as Duke and Duchess of Sussex wasn't being considered? Well, my friends, it looks like the British public and their representatives might have other ideas. And isn't that just perfect? Because at the end of the day, the monarchy exists to serve the people, not the other way around. Let me tell you something about these parliamentary petitions and what they really mean. This isn't just some random online petition that anyone can sign. This is serious business. This is representatives of the British people saying, hold on a minute, this isn't right. And when Parliament gets involved, things get real very quickly. This correspondence reportedly surfaced after Meghan and Harry's explosive Oprah interview, their Netflix series, and Harry's memoir, Spare. Imagine being King Charles, dealing with personal loss and new responsibilities, only to receive a letter from your daughter-in-law, who has publicly criticised your every move. Talk about adding insult to injury. Now, let's contrast Meghan's actions with those of Princess Catherine. Even during her own health struggles, Catherine has shown unwavering grace and dedication to her royal duties. She embodies the ethos of service above self, never complaining about the rules that come with the title. Meanwhile, Prince William must be heartbroken watching his brother drift away, manipulated by outside influences. Meghan's claims of being unprepared for royal life ring hollow, especially when you consider the offers of support she received from Catherine, Camilla, and even the late Queen. Despite the guidance extended to her, Meghan's behaviour led to the departure of several seasoned staff members, highlighting a troubling pattern of disregard for royal traditions and protocols. The crux of the issue lies in trust. Different rules exist because some royals have proven their loyalty and commitment over time. Being a royal is about service, not self-promotion. Yet here we have Meghan and Harry leveraging their royal titles for financial gain while simultaneously undermining the very institution that granted them those titles. What did Meghan expect? An immediate overhaul of centuries-old traditions to fit her Hollywood lifestyle. The royal family has endured for over a millennium thanks to its established customs. These aren't just arbitrary regulations, they're the backbone of the monarchy's stability. And as King Charles faces serious health challenges, the last thing he needs is more drama from across the Atlantic. It's heartbreaking to witness the rift between Harry and William. Once a tight-knit trio, the bond between the brothers appears fractured, with Harry seemingly unable to assert himself against Meghan's influence. The Harry we once knew would never have allowed such a letter to reach his father, especially given the tumultuous history they share. This latest chapter seems less about royal duties and more about maintaining relevance. With their Netflix and Spotify ventures faltering, it feels like Harry and Meghan are stirring the pot to grab headlines once again. The ingratitude is staggering. Meghan was welcomed into one of the world's most prestigious families, yet she chose to focus on what she perceived as shortcomings rather than embracing her role. You know what really gets me? The sheer hypocrisy of it all. They claimed they wanted financial independence, but have you noticed how every single one of their ventures relies heavily on their royal connections? They're like those people who say they're self-made but actually got everything handed to them on a silver platter. Remember when we heard that the palace was considering all options on the table, but that downgrading them as Duke and Duchess of Sussex wasn't being considered? Well, my friends, it looks like the British public and their representatives might have other ideas. And isn't that just perfect? Because at the end of the day, the monarchy exists to serve the people, not the other way around. Let me tell you something about these parliamentary petitions and what they really mean. This isn't just some random online petition that anyone can sign. This is serious business. This is representatives of the British people saying, "Hold on a minute, this isn't right." And when Parliament gets involved, things get real very quickly. You know what makes this even more fascinating? The timing of it all. While our beloved Princess of Wales is recovering, and we're all sending her our love and prayers, certain people can't seem to stop their publicity circus. It's like they're physically incapable of reading the room, and I think that's really contributed to this groundswell of public opinion against them. Let's talk about the actual implications of what's happening here. The British public, through their elected representatives, is essentially saying, if you want to be private citizens, then be private citizens. If you want to be working royals, then be working royals. But you can't have it both ways. And isn't that just the most reasonable thing you've ever heard? And let's not ignore the inconsistency regarding their children's titles. One moment they claim to want to shield Archie and Lilibet from royal burdens, the next they're vying for those very titles. This flip-flopping only adds to the confusion surrounding their intentions. Ultimately, Meghan's letter underscores a long-held suspicion. She never truly wanted to embrace the responsibilities of royal life. Instead, she sought the glamour and prestige without the accompanying duties. Her comparison to Fergie is particularly galling, as Sarah Ferguson has always respected the institution, unlike Meghan, who seems intent on tearing it down. In light of all this, King Charles's dignified silence speaks volumes. Despite the chaos, he remains focused on his duties, embodying the true spirit of royalty. Think about it this way, my dear viewers. When you quit a job, you don't get to keep using the company credit card, do you? You don't get to keep the corner office and the executive title while working for the competition. But that's exactly what certain people have been trying to do. And it looks like people have finally had enough. And can we talk about the absolute precision of karma? While they've been busy playing their games, our working royals have just been getting on with it. William and Catherine, Charles and Camilla, they've been showing what real service looks like. They've been demonstrating what it really means to wear those titles with dignity and purpose. You know what really makes me laugh? Remember all those predictions about how they were going to modernise the monarchy, how they were going to show everyone a new way of being royal? Well, look how that turned out. Instead of modernising anything, they've just proven why the traditional way, the way of duty, service and dignity, works so well. Let's be real here for a moment. This isn't about being vindictive or punitive. This is about maintaining the dignity and integrity of an institution that has served Britain for centuries. It's about saying that these titles aren't just fancy names you can slap on a Netflix deal or use to sell your latest book. They come with responsibilities, with duties, with expectations. And speaking of expectations, let's talk about how they've managed to disappoint pretty much every single one. Remember when they first left, and some people were actually defending them? Remember when people thought they might actually do something meaningful with their platform? Well, here we are, years later, and what do we have to show for it? A bunch of complaints, some mediocre content deals, and an endless stream of poor me narratives. You know what's really interesting about this whole situation? The contrast between how they've handled their titles and how other royals who've stepped back have handled theirs. Look at Princess Anne's children, for example. They've managed to live their lives, have their careers, all without constantly trading on their royal connections. That's class. That's dignity. That's everything certain other people claim to have but consistently fail to demonstrate. As we navigate this ongoing saga, it's clear that the royal family's future hinges on unity and a shared commitment to service. For those of us who cherish the monarchy, let's continue to support the working royals who exemplify what it means to serve with honour and dignity. Honour